Hello guys and welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to be looking at all of the winners and losers of the 14 new support gems added in patch 3.2 to the Trial of the Ancestors League. Now before the league started and even before we had any information on the actual numbers of the new support gems, there was quite a lot of discussion on a select few of the new support gems, with a lot of interest being shown towards Controlled Blaze, Trauma and Sadism in particular. But now that the league has shaken out, how have these new support gems fared in the current meta? Let's take a look. We're starting off with the winners here, and the most popular new support gem in 3.22 is the Returning Projectile support. And I think this is not really too surprising, because realistically, coming out of Crucible League where Venging Cascade was incredibly powerful and popular and bow builds were king, Returning Projectile is a natural fit right into those builds, and even though those builds are going to be a little bit weaker, they're still pretty good. So Returning Projectiles was added as an option for a lot of those builds now that Venging Cascade is gone, and it's there as an option for a lot of other builds as well. But this is still a popular choice, sitting at about 6% of all builds in Ancestor Trade League making use of the new Returning Projectile support. The majority of these builds are Deadeye, lots of lightning, arrow and artillery ballista builds in the mix. And right behind Returning Projectiles at 4% play rate is the new Volatility support. This one is a lot more diluted in terms of the ascendancies and builds that it's being used in. There's a fairly even play rate across Ascendant, Champion, Juggernaut, Berserker, Trickster and Deadeye. Some smite builds there, some Lightning Strike, Power Siphon, Tornado Shot, lots of different builds. I think that the representation really lends to the strength of this new support. It's especially strong on those lightning damage focused attack builds, which have a very low minimum damage and high maximums, and they can pretty much ignore the downside and just gain a lot of damage from volatility. And next up we've got another winner, that's Guardian's Blessing. Now I think this one was always going to be useful as long as the numbers were good, and they are good. They're actually a lot better than I thought they would be. And Guardian's Blessing has about 2% play rate across all characters in Ancestor Trade. It does require some investment to get this gem set up. It's very strong in the right setup with Animate Guardian, for example. There's a lot of variants of builds once again for this support too. Some miners, some zombies and carry-on golem builds, some shockwave totem, SRS. Once again, a high variance of ascendancies too. And next up we have the middle-of-the-road supports. These ones are not really winners, but they're not losers either. We've got Spellblade here at 1% play rate. Lots and lots of Energy Blade Inquisitor builds right there. And Trauma support at 0.6% play rate. I think that would be a lot higher if Melee was in a better state right now. And Corrupting Cry comes in at 0.4% play rate. And then there's Fresh Meat just barely scraping its way in at 0.3%, mostly Skeleton Mage builds there. And we've made it all the way to the losers of the new support gems, beginning with the Flamewood support at 0.2%, which I think was always going to be here really, mainly due to playstyle, not everyone's cup of tea this one. Also not helped out by the fact that it was bugged at league start. Next up is Sacrifice at 0.1%. I think this support is really just hindered by the fact that there are so many restrictions on how you can make use of it. There's not a lot of options to get big value out of sacrificing a huge portion of your life. And then it's Sadism just below Sacrifice at 0.1% play rate. This one had a load of potential prior to the numbers being revealed, but the 80% less ailment duration really just killed it. And then we have Controlled Blaze at 0.05% play rate, another support that had lots of potential. Also a really cool concept for a support gem in my opinion, but the numbers were not quite there, and it just kind of creates this weird playstyle where you have to invest in attack speed and you don't really want to invest in attack speed on an Ignite build, and it's a little bit strange there. The payoff for investing into attack speed and changing up your build is not really worth this support gem. And Locust Mines comes just below Controlled Blaze at 0.04%. I think this one may take a few leagues to shake out a little bit into the meta, but it's not very popular at all in 3.22. And lastly, we have Frigid Bond and Devour, both of these at 0.03% play rate. Well, they were both bound to be at the bottom of the charts. For Devour support, the use case just isn't there really in the current meta. Sacrificing a link for recovery and corpse denial really isn't an option for a lot of builds, and a lot of them just won't have the luxury of being able to make use of this support in a secondary link setup. And for Frigid Bond, well, it's mostly going to be a co-op kind of support, which is already a very unpopular way to play, and the setup with minions, well, it's just a bit too clunky to be very popular. I will say that the numbers are very good on Frigid Bond, there's lots of damage, but the playstyle wasn't ever going to be that popular. And that's it, the winners and losers of every new support gem added in 3.22 Trial of the Ancestors. Did you try some of these new gems this league? Let me know how you got on in the comment section below. And thank you very much for watching. As always, stay tuned and stay safe.